Hey, y'all, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, as part of our Breeders' Cup Division report, we're going to take a look at the penultimate and ultimate races in the Breeders' Cup, and they are the Turf Division and the Classic Division. So let's take a look. So we're going to look at the Turf and the Classic divisions. They're the penultimate and ultimate race in the Breeders' Cup. And first we'll look at the Turf division, dominated by the international horses. Equinox just is non-pareil right now in the world. He just was completely dominating in Dubai and has done the same in Japan. The last race I watched, his most recent, then Christophe Lemaire kept him at the back, swung him way out, and it didn't look like he was saying, I've got plenty of time. It's just a matter of when I want to win this, and he did. So the Equinox is a pretty awesome horse, and I'll believe he's going to come over because it's at Santa Anita. So we'll see, but if he comes over, he's definitely the one to beat. Huckham is probably the best older horse in Europe. He is the last race he ran in was pretty darn impressive. He beat a really good field. Auguste Rodin was conspicuous in that he dropped off early on in the race, but Westover, Luxembourg, King of Steel, I mean, it was just a stellar pile driver, a stellar field, and he was able to turn them all back. And so if he does come over, definitely one that we're going to look out for. Mostadaf in the Juddmonte International was pretty impressive, and he was pretty impressive at Ascot as well. He kind of was laying in the weeds there a little bit, and he seems one that I'm not sure that the distance necessarily is what he wants. He's been more of a miler, but this is a pretty tough knocker, and definitely one to be taken seriously. Same with Auguste Rodin. He's got a lot of press this year, and he's a hell of a horse. He rebounded in the Irish Champion Stakes off his poor effort against Huckham earlier. And he's got a lot of class. He is 3 years old, so he's been running against older, but he's one you have to take seriously. And finally, or then for the Americans, Up to the Mark obviously is our best, and he has been ultra impressive this year since switching to turf. And if he runs in the race, I think that he is our best hope to have any chance. It kind of reminds me of many years ago when Kitten's Joy was facing all the better Europeans. It's kind of that kind of situation where he's really our only hope. Raptors of Brazil, the question always, of course, is the class, but in his last race, he beat 17 other horses and did so with a pretty impressive kick in the stretch. And if he measures up class-wise, he's one to be taken seriously. Gold Phoenix is going to have the home advantage, being at Santa Anita, and he's been at a mile, he's been at longer distances, he's very versatile. I'm not sure he's quite up to the mark, pardon the pun, against some of the better Europeans, but he is have the home advantage, so it's one you have to take seriously. And then Red Knight, he's just a hard knocker. Every time we think we want to count him out, he surprises us. He can run with this group. I don't think he's good enough to win, but he's one you want to take seriously. You can never really count him out. Get Smoking would be the pace in the race, I would assume, and he's Kentucky Turf Club. He ran a hell of a nice race and did carried his speed farther than I thought perhaps he could. In slowing the fractions down, which he normally wouldn't do. So he's kind of a sleeper. Getting on the front end, you never know, but be awful tough to beat the Europeans if they come over. And then finally, Far Bridge. He's got a lot of talent, but he seems to find a lot of trouble, and that's always the issue with him. But I think that if he can get a trip, then perhaps he could factor. But obviously, when you look at this field, the Europeans are just the total class, and depends, of course, how many come over. But if any one of those top four come over, they probably would be the favorite to win it. And finally, we'll look at the Classic division. Everybody's favorite. It's the granddaddy of them all, and it is a unique race in that it is dominated by the 3-year-olds. The older horses, particularly with West Willpower now being retired, really don't offer a whole lot of challenge. I think it's definitely the 3-year-old's race to lose. And we'll start with Arcangelo, who has moved his way to the top of the class without question. The Belmont, he followed it up with a nice Travers, and he is definitely moving in the right direction. And nice to see Jenna Antonucci, a female trainer, having a big horse and got a really good chance to win the Classic. Go Rocket Ride's going to have the home field advantage at Santa Anita, and was a little unlucky in the Pacific Classic, but this one is certainly got plenty of talent. And Dick Mandela, if you remember 20 years ago when the Breeders' Cup was at Santa Anita, I think he had 4 wins that day. So he is not to be underestimated, particularly in this forum. So Go Rocket Ride is a really solid win candidate, I think. Arabian Night certainly has a world of talent and demonstrated it in the Pacific Classic. I really didn't think he could get 1.25 miles on the front end, and he did. It was a pretty impressive win, and he did show some grit hanging on in the stretch. I'm not sure with a deeper field like this that necessarily he is capable of doing it again, but you can't underestimate him. Bob Baffert has gotten the most out of this horse, and he's pretty scary. Defunded is another one with the home advantage at Santa Anita, and he's a real hard knocker, and you can't ever discount him. He always brings his best, and I think particularly being at Santa Anita, he's got a good chance to factor in this race. Forte, we've been discounting all year, if you think about it. And we keep waiting for him to have a bad race. And okay, he had it in the Travers. But he also was a model of consistency. It was highly unusual for him to have a race like that. And I fully expect him to bounce back. And we'll see how he handles the track at Santa Anita. But I think he's definitely one that you have to have in the mix. And you're going to get a price, which is unusual. And I think he's pretty enticing. Proxy is a hard knocker. He's finally figured out how to not stop running in the stretch, and he's become a much better horse. I don't think he's necessarily in the same league with the top horses here, but he is a good, he's a good serviceable horse, and belongs in the top 10 in the handicap division. Disarm is another one that's really intriguing. He seems to be getting better at just the right time. Had a nice second in the Travers, and he has been progressing. Well, he was a little bit behind the 8 ball early in the year, but Steve Asmussen's done a really nice job in getting this horse to progressively improve, and he certainly has the talent. Coming from off the pace, you never know, but he's very intriguing. Mage had I think he just didn't like Saratoga in the Travers because everything pointed to him having a good race, and he just didn't fire. And the fact that he was training so well, I just have to believe that was the case. This horse has talent. We know this. He won the Kentucky Derby after all. And I think he can certainly bounce back. I'm not sure that he's necessarily progressing at the same level as some of the other 3-year-olds, but I think he's one we have to consider for sure. Rattle and Roll is just a hard knocker. His best races seem to be in Kentucky. So I don't necessarily think that he travels very well, and I think that might work against him. But he'll be coming from off the pace, and again, you never know. But I think he's a cut below some of the better ones here. And White Barrio is on this list only because he won the Whitney, and he's going to run in the Classic. That's it. He is not a 2-turn horse. He took advantage of, in retrospect, was a fairly weak field. Not a lot of them were coming into the race in really great shape. And he got on the front end, he took advantage of it, and he won the race. And I'll give him full credit for that. Dick Dutrow obviously got the most out of him. But this horse is not a 1.25 mile horse. And I don't care how much training they do, how much they work with him. He is not a 1.25 mile horse. I firmly believe that. And he would be an immediate toss for me in the Classic. But he does make the list because he is going to run. So there it is, the turf and the Classic divisions. I think the turf division, really, we just sort of have to concede it to the Europeans and the international horses. If Equinox comes over, game over. They're just too good. They're better than our division, and we really need to take a hard look at it and see what we can do to improve it because right now we're a distant second in the turf division. As far as the classic goes, I mean, I think Arcangelo is definitely the one to beat. You'd have to say that. I mean, the 3-year-olds are dominating what should be an older horse division, an older horse race, and that hasn't been uncommon in the last few. So really hope we get some more older horses that stick around after the 3-year-old campaign to make it a really competitive division. So, but I think right now the 3-year-olds, definitely one of them is going to take it for sure. If you do like content like this, please like and subscribe. And we thank all of you for coming on board. And we'll really looking forward to the Breeders' Cup. I think it's going to offer some great opportunity, as it always does. So that's it from here. Be on the lookout for more postings as always. I'll talk to you soon. And until then, be well.